The entire war is based on a lie. We are the bad guys. We are the aggressors in this current war. And if you look at the history of the 20th century, every major war was ultimately lost by the country that started it. So guess where that sets us up? I'm not surprised our soldiers are committing suicide in such numbers. They know they're the bad guys.
Well, it's amazing to see this unfolding. And on top of that, the media is playing a game here when they act like they didn't know it was torture, and they have a debate about whether it's torture or not, or whether torture was ordered. We have all the White House memos. But before we had the orders, and before we found out Pelosi was in on it, and that she tried to lie about that, I remember in the 3 or 4 months after 9/11, Washington Post articles that are in my film Road to Tyranny, where they thought they had the public where they wanted them with 90+% approval ratings, so they tried to sell pure evil at that point. And it said, detainees' children being used to get answers. And then it said, we're, quote, putting pressure, and the article went on to say, torture of children in front of their parents to get answers. And so, and I'll never forget being out in Hollywood, because I was going on a national TV show out there. And I'll never forget being in a hotel room watching a press conference with Rumsfeld bragging how they were torturing. Why doesn't the media go get all those clips of him saying that and all those articles, and then there's no more debate, we arrest these people? Because the whole government, both parties are involved. We'll talk to Mike Rivero and take your phone calls on the other side of this long segment that's coming up. His website's whatreallyhappened.com. Our sites are Infowars.com and PrisonPundit.com.
Are you concerned for the safety of your loved ones? Listen closely to this message from pepperspray.com. Every 22 seconds a violent crime is committed. America has changed, and your personal safety is your first priority. Be smart. Be safe. Trust pepper spray instead of your luck. Pepperspray.com is the only website you'll ever need for all of your non-lethal self-defense supplies. Pepperspray.com carries one of the largest assortments of pepper spray and personal safety products on the web. From big to small, we have it all. Pepper spray, mace, animal repellents, stun guns, and tasers. Pepperspray.com also carries a large assortment of products for personal, home, child, and pet safety. Enter SAFE in the coupon box, and you'll receive a special discount off of your order. So what are you waiting for? Go to pepperspray.com. That's pepperspray.com. Or call 1-800-908-9988 today.
We are back live. Mike Rivero is our guest, going to your phone calls in T-minus 5 minutes. And I want to get into how Mike sees this collapse, this controlled collapse of the economy unfolding and developing. Shifting gears to Europe. Here, the establishment and the Bilderberg Group was in the EU Observer and other papers a few months ago, as I'm sure you saw, being a news hound, bragging, Etienne Davignon, the chairman of Bilderberg, we set up the Euro by covert action. We're setting up the North American Union by covert action, the Transatlantic Treaty Organization signed by George Bush in 2007. That's all covered in Endgame. It's all out in the open, and they laugh at us publicly, knowing most people don't read the newspaper, and then spinning it that it's all for our own good. Here, they just deny we're in a North American Union, though under treaty we've been in one since 2005. And then we have to fight for years admitting that there's a NAFTA superhighway going in Texas. The media denies it exists, then it admits it exists, but then says, okay, we're canceling it. But the third paragraph in the AP article a few months ago said, well, actually, they're getting rid of the name. They're just going to keep it and not give it a name and have it piece by piece. But the whole project continues. Well, in Europe, it's another form of spin. And I want to ask you how we fight this and where you see this going. Because, as you know, Zelikow, the U.S. head of the World Bank, big neocon, came out in Bloomberg over the weekend and said, look, there's going to be a worldwide revolution. The trillions we've given to the banks, the people are going to find out we did it. He's speaking with incredible candor. They're going to come after us. And then he didn't really say anything after that. He just kind of made the announcement, kind of like he was a white-tailed deer throwing his tail up, hightailing it, saying, look out, they're coming for us. So a lot of weird mixed signals, but with Zelikow. But in Europe, every time they let them vote, as you know, in the Netherlands or in Ireland or in countries like France, the people say no by 70+%. 76 is the number that you usually see. They won't let the Brits vote on it. They're just bringing them under the regulations of it. That's why Jackie Smith said, arrest talk show host if they come here. You're not allowed to criticize immigrants. Michael Savage. She was following EU rules. Well, now Reuters reports poll finds Irish support EU's Libson Treaty rises. They're going to try to have another vote. And they did this last time, saying it was going to win last year in Ireland, and then it lost. So how do you deal with this level of deception? And where is all this going?
Well, the good news is because these deceptions are being repeatedly exposed and people are seeing this incredible disconnect between what the corporate media is saying and the reality on the ground. And I would cite as a local example some of these incredibly bogus polls, very obviously bogus polls we're seeing in the corporate media about how Americans want Guantanamo kept open and they don't want investigations into torture. I mean, the first rule of propaganda is for it to work, it's got to be believable. And our corporate media has gone so far past that line right now where people, and this is why they're losing audience and why people are coming over to the Alex Jones show and the What Really Happened show, and they're coming to the blogosphere, because the propaganda has reached an unbelievable level. Now, getting back to the situation about the economy, I think a big reason the people of the world are rejecting this globalism and these unions is for two reasons. One, they know it's not for their benefit. It's for the benefit of the banks so they can have a bigger pile of money that they can siphon off of. And at bottom line, when you talk about a global governance, that's what Alexander the Great wanted. That's what Napoleon wanted. That's what Hitler wanted. And people understand that global governance is not about wise management of the globe. It's about some individual or some small group standing up on top of a monument built to their own glory and screaming, I am in control of it all. Am I not really cool? And I think we've kind of had enough of that sort of situation. And as I said before, the current economic downturn on the entire planet is because of globalism, and most people are smart enough to realize more globalism is not going to fix it. Now, interestingly enough, we brought up a concept at my own show yesterday, and I've been getting a ton of email about it, both pro and con, and it has to do with a little theory in international law called an odious debt. And what that is, this basically means that when a government ceases to operate, the debts incurred that were not for the benefit of the people are construed to be personal debts of the government officials themselves, and the people don't have to pay them back. The U.S. used this to get Cuba off the hook for debts run up by the Spanish occupation. Mexico used this principle to repudiate the debts run up by the Emperor Maximilian. Basically, what it means is that at some point in the future, if the government of the United States should collapse the way the USSR did, all of this money spent on wars of aggression, all these debts run up for the bailouts, all the money borrowed for walls and security and surveillance and all of this other stuff that didn't really improve the lot of the common people, we the people are not going to be held liable for that debt anymore.
Well, that's what I was going to get to next, and I want you to continue with the punchline here, with the key. But I mean, that is so central. Not just odious debt, fraudulent debt. A contract that's fraudulent, a contract that's carried out through deception is null and void. And as a free human being, I don't own and I don't owe $500,000 to foreign offshore banks. A, I don't have it. B, it was set up fraudulently. I mean, we even pay taxes to the offshore banks to give them the money, and then we pay interest on the money we pay taxes to give them. This is the greatest Ponzi scheme fraud. They want to carry their Ponzi scheme through to the next level through fraud. So it is fraudulent, and that's why China and Russia and Europe and Japan are saying, can you guys pay this back? Because they know they can do the math. We've gone from the average American owning more money and more assets than they did debts to being a total debtor nation in 2007. And at the worst debtor level we've been in our history, the previous record of a sum debtor nation was in late 1933. And so we physically can't pay it back. It's fraudulent. The world knows that we all owe over $500,000, and it's now going hyperbolic. It's going from a couple $100,000 a year ago to $500,000 now, and accelerating towards $1 million in debt per American within 2 years, the Wall Street Journal reports. And no police state is going to be able to extract this out of the slaves the country is imploding. The illegal aliens are bankrupting everything in the Southwest because they're in the social welfare net because they're not paid enough to live. I mean, this is all coming to a head. So where do you see all this going, Mike Rivero?
Well, there's a fundamental principle about the debt-based currency system that we find at the heart of the Federal Reserve, and that is that the instant it goes into operation, more money is owed to the banks than is actually physically in existence. We talk about the federal government being $65 trillion in debt. Most of that is debt of money that is fictional. It never really existed in the first place. It is simply notes in a ledger that the interest is accruing over time. And so the money doesn't exist, and unless we go out and conquer other countries, we're never going to come up with it, and we have to collapse. The problem with bringing a global bank into line with the same debt-based currency where all money is borrowed from a central bank, when it gets to the point of collapse, there are no other places to go for money.